Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my thoughts on the 1989 OVA anime series, Goku Midnight Eye. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this series, I would like to give a special shout out to Will for requesting this anime review. And if there's another anime, TV show, film, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description down below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Now, just like a lot of other OVA or OAVs, depending on what source you look at, this is based on a manga of the same name. Now, I have never read this manga, so I can't really say for sure whether or not it's a good adaptation of the source material, but I'm just throwing that out there for those of you who might be curious to see where this all came from. Now, I believe this was definitely intended possibly to be more than just one little two-parter like a lot of other OVAs, but it didn't wind up getting a lot of acclaim, let alone a lot of success when it comes to really resonating with audiences in Japan. So this didn't really go that far. It was just a two-parter, and that was pretty much about it. As far as I know. I don't know if there was another series that came out afterwards. I'm not really what you would call an anime expert. I'm a total novice. Even though I've seen a handful of anime, I have only seen so little. I mean, what I've seen of anime is just barely scratching the surface compared to other people who have done anime reviews on YouTube. But I will say this, I had some fun with this. I thought it was okay. I liked the first part more than the second because I felt the second was a step down in quite a few areas. But I've seen better OVA series like Battle Angel Alita or Gogol 13 or other anime from the 80s like Akira, which is a classic, or Fist of the North Star. Those are ones that I've enjoyed and I liked a lot more than this. But I do feel it's worth a watch if it sounds interesting to you. Deals with this private eye named Goku, who is tasked with investigating this series of suicides. And these mysterious suicides are all committed by police officers. So he starts investigating the suicides, finds out that it's this woman who has this supernatural ability to hypnotize and essentially mindfuck people with her peacock feathers. And in order for him to escape from her grasp, he basically stabs his own eye out. And he then gets it replaced with a computer eye because, you know, it's the 80s. So he gets his eye replaced with a computer eye that can access the entire computer mainframe. And then he gets outfitted with a giant rod, like a rod that can extend to significant lengths. And no, it's not the rod in between his legs. He gets a bow staff it's an extendable bow staff that can extend like hundreds of feet in the air. I guess that's just something that helps him get around. I don't know how that's really going to help him a whole lot in combat, but you know, it is what it is. The robot eye, though, definitely does give him an advantage because it can hack into anything. So after he gets outfitted with this robot eye, then he decides to start investigating the suicide again and discovers that things go deeper than he initially thought. The peacock feather woman is just one out of many potential threats, and then finds out that it all ties together with, of course, an evil corporate bad guy. Of course it would. and then he hacks into the computer mainframe, blows up the building, uh, takes out the bad guy, uh, and he takes out the bad guy in a really crazy ass way. Because prior to the fight that he has with the main villain, he Goku fights this woman, this like scantily clad woman on a dog leash, who's being uh, carried around by this other dude, and he takes out the guy who was holding her by the leash, and then fights her on her own. And that's no small task because she's got lasers shooting out of her mouth. I mean, if you get head from that chick, that gives a whole new meaning to the clap. I mean, you're gonna feel the burn in a completely different way, not just at the tip, but like the whole damn thing. But yeah, he takes her out, cuts her head off, and then uses the severed head of this robot chick to fire a hole right through the bad guy's forehead. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty badass. And another thing that I like about at least this first part is that it knows that it's silly and it's over the top, and it leans into it with one-liners and lines of dialogue. So it winds up being fun. It is a really fun first part of the series to watch. That's what makes the second part so disappointing, because the first part realized that we don't need to focus on a lot of drama, a lot of anything else other than the action and just the fun and the craziness of this concept. The second part takes itself too seriously, tries to bring in some drama, tries to bring in some twists and stuff, and it's just nowhere near as much fun to watch. But yeah, I don't mind the plot. I don't mind the writing for the first part by Buichi Terasawa and Ryuzo Nakanishi. The direction by Yoshiaki Kawajiri is also fine. There are some moments where the animation is a bit stiff, but I think that's really mainly due to the lack of money, the lack of a budget for this OVA series. Like, you can definitely tell this is one of the cheaper ones because they don't really have as much to work with in terms of animators and other things that makes more expensive OVAs or anime in general so much more strong when it comes to their visuals. Like, there is some stuff here where you can, it's kind of hard to differentiate it from your average episode of like G.I. Joe, because G.I. Joe was also animated by a lot of Japanese animators and animators from overseas. So not what I would call a masterpiece, but an enjoyable first part. I was only able to get the English dub. I couldn't find the original dub, and the dubbing is pretty bad, like a lot of anime dubs. But it kind of added to the charm and just the over the top nature of the OVA. So it didn't bug me too much. I would say it bugged me more when like the English voice actor for Goku was going on any kind of long tangent. When he's just saying a one-liner, I thought the guy was pretty decent when it comes to just saying a one-liner or two. I don't know if it's Jeff Harding or Stephen J. Blum. I don't know which version I watched. I watched a version that was on Amazon. So whichever one it is, they were okay. Could have been worse, but definitely could have been better in terms of an English dub voice actor. But yeah, I had fun with the first part. The second part, which is known as Goku 2 Midnight Eye, I didn't like this one nearly as much. This one, like I said, it takes itself a little too seriously. This one has Goku trying to find this woman's brother who was turned into a psychic super soldier. The reason why she's asking him to go find her brother is because her brother is slowly losing his mind and going out of control. And if she doesn't find him in time and give him this antidote, then he'll lose his mind and be insane forever and just be this insane, crazy weapon of destruction. And that sounds fine and good, but that's just a departure from the over-the-top fun nature of the first part, with scantily clad women on leashes firing lasers out of their mouths. And then you have this whole thing like, oh, feel bad for this woman's brother because he's experimented on, and so on. But even that doesn't turn out to be anything, because there's a twist that essentially undoes all that and just says, well, he's not really a brother. In fact, he's this woman's son, because they're all the woman and the psychic super soldier are all the result of some experiment by the real bad guy. And it's just like, did we really need to do that? You just overcomplicated things for no reason. Also, it's speaking of overcomplicated, this episode is like almost an hour long. Like, the first part of this OVA series is short and to the point, and honestly I think is sweet for a lot of reasons because of that fact. It doesn't lollygag around, it doesn't take too long to get the plot moving, it gives you a lot of action, gives you some flashy visuals, and gets on its merry way. This one, on the other hand, takes its time more with depth and character building moments, but it's just boring more than it is intriguing. And then when you get to the action, it's nowhere near as fun or inventive. The psychic soldier guy just seems overpowered. There's this fun moment where Goku soups up his car with a bunch of tech, but then that isn't even really something that ultimately leads to a satisfying use of that idea, because it's one of those things where he soups up the car, and then as soon as he gets in his first confrontation with the psychic super soldier, the car gets wrecked. The car is used in the battle with the real villain, but it's just used by Goku to control with his eye, to fire a missile at the bad guy. So it's just one of those things that's just like, eh. And I see what they were trying to do. They're trying to pit Goku against a bigger, badder threat, but I don't really think that was the right choice for this private eye guy, whose only main power he has is a robot eye that can hack into the internet or the computer mainframe. Like, it's one of those things that's like, it's kind of not fair to pit him against like psychic super soldiers. But okay, because what is he gonna do? Hit them with his long rod? Like, that's not gonna do anything. So also, just the whole point of the twist just completely undermined everything that came before it, and just made the whole stuff with the drama with the brother feel pretty pointless. But even then, even without the twist, that whole thing is ruined anyway by the writing, because the writers essentially turn the girl into a liar and have her like change her mind, and essentially she fed Goku a line of bullshit, and the antidote isn't going to do anything. And they also try to do this whole thing with Goku and this girl, like she's supposed to be like a love interest or something, and that just doesn't work at all either. I think I'm trying to look at. Sorry, I'm just trying to look at the name of Ryoko. I think that's who it is. Yeah, trying to make this whole thing with Goku and Ryoko as if they're like lovers, and it just doesn't fit because I don't really like this character that much. Goku barely met her, and then when you find out she's just two-faced and not trustworthy, then it just makes the whole love interest even less desirable between the two. Yeah, this one was written by Buichi Terasawa. So he didn't have another writer with him. Maybe that's a big reason why it's not as good because like the first part, like, you had Buichi, but you also had Ryuzo, who was writing. So maybe that's a big reason why the script is just not as good here. Even the one-liners weren't as strong. Um, so yeah, it's just pretty lackluster second part. Like I didn't really care for it that much. And I don't really know what else to say about this series other than a few other things, like the music. Like the music was all right. The music, there were some decent bits of 80s style electronica, tech sort techno sort of stuff, where they use a electronic keyboard or something to create the score and a synthesizer. Um, I wouldn't say it's particularly memorable, but it fits the film. It fits the OVA series well enough. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this one. Except if it sounds interesting to you, give it a watch sometime. It's free on Amazon. I think it's also on YouTube. Uh, there are better OVA series. There are better anime that deal with action and sci-fi, but it's good for a rainy day. It's a good little rainy day anime. And it's one of those things where I'm still glad I watched it. I mean, just for the batshit insane craziness of the first part. The scantily clad woman who looks like she walked straight out of an 80s hair metal rock video on a leash, shooting lasers out of her mouth. That's definitely something that's going to stick with me. But anyway, thanks for watching my thoughts on Goku Midnight Eye, and until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.